Hi, this is Jay Billis of ESPN, and you're listening to the ML Sports Platter.
It is, in fact, the ML Sports Platter all over the major platforms. Download, subscribe, leave feedback, and a 5-star review. We are presented by Stanley Law Offices, Brian Comboy of Mass Mutual, New York State, and Bryant and Stratton College of Syracuse. The classes, 2- and 4-year degrees, they're always starting soon. Remember, they have that brand new nursing program as well. Go follow them on social media and visit them online at bryantstratton.edu. 2 great locations for the campuses in central New York on James Street and on Route 57 in Liverpool. Bryant and Stratton College of Syracuse is a proud ML Sports Platter sponsor. We are also supported by the Vince Aguirre Consulting Group, Welch & Company Jewelers, and a big-time tip of the cap thank you as well to Prestwick Golf and the Syracuse Fitness Store. So last week I went down to Cooperstown to celebrate the induction of the 2020 class. At times it felt like it was normal and it was the same, and other times it didn't. I went down, met my man Scott Petoniak, drove down and back with my man Rocco Carbone and my man Matt Michael. Tradition, we do it every year. We all you just get trapped in a time machine when you go to Cooperstown. It's nostalgia, it's the love of the game, it's the history, it's the connection of generations. It's the shops and the cards and the food and the distillery and fans up and down the streets and the lake and all of it just kind of blend. Doubleday Field, all of it blended in. I mean, it really truly is. I mean, it's a place that's only an hour and 20 minutes from my doorstep, and it's literally got to be one of the greatest places on earth, right? I mean, it just is, and. The weather held out for us. Got a couple sprinkles at the end of Jeter's speech. And then, of course, the storms and all that held off. We got absolutely pissed on the way home. I mean, it was a big sort of rainstorm for a good 20, 30 minutes, and then it calmed down, and then it was sunny on the thruway once we got out of the Richfield Springs in that sort of area, getting on the thruway and then buzzing it back to central New York. But I just wanted to kind of recap the day and go one by one with the inductees and their impact on the game and some different things to say about them. I don't know how much more I can say about Derek Jeter that I've said and written the last 20 years, but I'll try to add a little bit, and it'll be more about his speech. But you just start right off the shoot. I mean, they did have about 20 to 25,000 fans at the induction, which was great. And when you think about what could have not happened, the induction could have not happened. I mean, it was kind of tabled, not once, but twice, but 3 times. And it was set once we kind of came out of things in June. And then it was, limited ticket capacity. Then we're going to open it, and then it's limited again. I think I heard yesterday it was limited, to 30,000, I thought was what my man Rocco said. I didn't read that anywhere, but he had caught it. Neither here nor there. It was certainly not 50. And so from that standpoint, it didn't seem as normal, because I think with Jeter, I think you would have approached that, Ripken Gwynn sort of crowd in 2007. I should also mention, by the way, that I have a bunch of interviews to play for you on this show. Tino Martinez, Willie Randolph, Peter Gammons, and Barry Bloom from Sportico. Got a chance to talk to all of those guys. I tried to get interviews with Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing, CeCe Sabathia, but they all said no. CeCe took a picture with me, but they all said no. They didn't give any audio to anybody. Hal Steinbrenner said no. I did catch up with Brian Cashman and Jorge Posada for about a minute or two each, and the audio, for one reason or another, freaking technology, came out super spotty, super choppy, and it's not usable right now, and I'm very sad about that, especially for the Posada part, because he just talked awesome talk about Jeter. So I'm trying to save that audio. I've reached out to a couple of my folks in the business to see if they can do some specializing with the production, but I'm not optimistic on it. But just, 50, it would have been 50,000 probably ish, 40, 45, 50,000 under normal circumstances. But a lot of the day felt normal. I mean, we pulled in, it was just busy enough. It was bustling. It was kind of a late crowd. We parked, right on Chestnut when we pulled in. We walked down, we got our passes, we walked back up, we went into Maintown. I saw my man Vinny at the seventh inning stretch. We hung out around Main Street. There weren't people signing as much in the morning. The signing days are Friday, Saturday down there for the Hall of Famers in specific spots. Reggie Jackson was signing. Pete Rose was signing. They've had some kind of scattered guys this week during the week, like John Smoltz was there, Spaceman Lee was there, and some others. But it was very, very light. And you didn't have, even Sunday morning, there's usually that table with, Goose Gossage, Raleigh Fingers, and, Juan Marichal and whoever with Jack Burt. They're always there on Sundays. Nobody was there whatsoever on Sunday morning. So that was kind of odd, but didn't throw a wrinkle really into a lot of things. And then, we basically went to our place at New York Pizzeria, crushed some pizza, and then walked to the induction and covered it. And then I got all the interviews, got the pictures and all the rest. It was really a terrific day. And as far as the speeches are concerned, I mean, I thought Ted Simmons, it wasn't really blow away, but it was solid. It was a decent, respectful, speech. Marvin and Simmons, he was a catcher extraordinaire. I think, getting involved, getting picked by this modern veterans committee type of a thing. I don't know. He's kind of one of these guys, like, he's in the Hall of Fame, but, like, you kind of look at it and you're like, is he a Hall of Famer? I look at the modern baseball era committee, they put him in. He was an 8-time All-Star. He won a Silver Slugger. I don't really know what else, he stands for to be a Hall of Famer. I mean, the batting average is a 285 clip. That's really good. Obviously, he played an extremely durable position. Catcher is just, I think with catchers, certain players, shortstop, and that's, again, another thing with Jeter that's just another accolade, right, to his remarkable resume. But catcher, you've really got to take, like, another level up, I think, right? Like, if you produce really pretty good numbers, like Johnny Bench, I believe, has 389 home runs career, right? And I got in a little spat on Facebook with somebody who, was like, oh, Larry Walker's not a Hall of Famer. I was like, well, actually, well-rounded player, won an MVP, 3 batting titles, was dominant, was an all-around 5-tool player. He was like, only has 383 home runs. Listen, you can take a stat that hurts a guy to get him in the Hall of Fame, and you can take a stat that helps a guy to get him into the Hall of Fame. You can make up any. He's the only player in the last 20 years with 200 stolen bases, 300, and all those, that you hear about. Hey, you start bringing up Aaron, Ruth, Mays, Mantle, DiMaggio, Frank Robinson, Jeter, Griffey. The numbers go up way more than that, right? Or like the 3,000 hit, 600 home run club or 700 home run club, right? Like, those are just absurd numbers. There are certain numbers you can use that pull people out, and you can use some that say, let's push them in, right? And so there are a lot of guys in the Hall of Fame. I've said this for a long time. Harold Baines should not be in. That was ridiculous. Tony La Russa, basically, it was a political ploy there to get him in. That was absurd. The guy never finished higher than 9th as an MVP in the American League. Very nice player. Really good player. No disrespect. But he ain't a Hall of Famer. This is the elite of the elite. Halls of Fame are not supposed to be Hall of Very Good, as my old friend Bud Poliquin used to say. It's not. It's a Hall of Fame, period, end of discussion. And the elite of the elites should be in this thing. And I just don't think Ted Simmons is the elite of the elite. I don't think Bill Mazeroski is. I think he rode that moment with the game-winning home run in 1960 in the World Series against the Yankees. I don't think Phil Rizzuto is a Hall of Famer. I don't think Bruce Sutter is a Hall of Famer. I don't know as if Lee Smith is a Hall of Famer. There's a lot of guys who aren't really, I'm not sure if they're all the way there. I just don't know. Barry Larkin, I thought, was a fringe player for a while, but because of the steroid era and a lot of the things that were going on, they had to fill the class in 2011. So there are a lot of guys who I don't think should be in the Hall of Fame, but then you look at some others who are out. Plus, the other problem is when you start putting in the Hall of Very Good or the Hall of Almost Elite, right? you start to say, well, he's in, so he should be in. And I just think that's a really, really bad path to go down. You shouldn't have to put in a player to put in another player, right? So Ted Simmons is in, oh, that's going to help Thurman Munson, who I don't think is a Hall of Famer. I realize what happened. The circumstances were awful, but it is what it is. I mean, it happened, and his numbers, you can't assume. I mean, Willie Randolph told me, and you'll hear it in the interview, like he basically said, I think he is a Hall of Famer, and he explained why, because if he didn't perish in the plane crash, Munson would have put up a ton of amazing numbers, and ba-boom. But we also can't predict the future. What happens if he would have torn a knee up in 1981 and didn't catch, and then 2 years later he was out of baseball? I mean, you can't predict that stuff. And so, it's like Alan Trammell. Alan Trammell was really, really, really good. I've gone back and forth with him as well. Alan Trammell, now that he's in, everybody, Lou Whitaker's got to be in. But I can't stand that. One closer, Trevor Hoffman, Lee Smith, let's get them all, let's keep them going. Let's get them. I don't subscribe to, well, that player's in, so this one has to be in. And I disagree with a lot of players being in. I realize Ted Simmons, as I started to dive deep into his careers, I didn't really know a lot about him. He played, 20 years in the major leagues. And again, with those 20 years, I mean, he kind of compiled numbers. His is more of a compilation. Like you could say, well, Derek Jeter. Well, yeah, but Derek Jeter is 6 all-time in hits. I understand you have to play a long time to get a lot of big numbers, but Ted Simmons doesn't have big numbers. He played for 20 years. He doesn't have anywhere near, the Johnny Bench type of numbers and all the rest. His RBI is 1389. It's solid. Home runs 248. Solid. 2472 hits, solid. Career batting average is impressive, 285, solid. But I just don't know as if he stands out. Gave a nice speech. He had a really nice career. Obviously, he was in 1975, one of his big years, right? 18 homers, 100 RBI, career high 332 batting average. Finished second in the batting championship behind Bill Madlock. But there aren't. He had strong years, 78, 80, 303, 21, and 98. Won the Silver Slugger. But, there's no MVP. There's no World Series MVP. There's no, it's kind of difficult. I know he caught the 2 no-hitters as a Cardinal with Bob Gibson in 71, and Bob Forsch is the first of his in 78. There are a few stats, and I'll just read this here. 21 years he played. He ended his career with a .986 fielding percentage, which is a big deal as a catcher. 8 All-Stars, 7 times batted above 300, 20 home runs 6 times, 8 times exceeded 90 runs batted in. Switch hit home runs in game 3 times, and established it's been broken since, but he established that national career record for home runs by a switch hitter at 182. So I guess that kind of adds a little bit to him and kind of why he got in. A switch hitter, great fielder, durable, a lot of those things, the catcher position. I guess that's kind of what got him in. I don't even really teeter-totter on him. I think he should, he's probably just out, but it is what it is. Moving on to Marvin Miller. Every owner, every player, every general manager, every agent should be thanking Marvin Miller. Here's a guy who challenged the reserve clause, was on the side of Kurt Flood, helped him also battle racism, and fought that reserve clause, went to the Supreme Court, lost, but then convinced a couple of pitchers, of course, in the big leagues, hey, don't extend a contract with this current team. You don't need to, you're not their property. And thus, it started to steamroll towards, free agency. And players started to see what he was doing, and he was an activist for it. And he was talking to media people constantly, every day, and trying to get into the ears and mind of people about free agency and exactly how important it was. You are not a piece of property. And fast forward, right, like shortly after, Catfish Hunter signs a mega deal, like for $1 million, right, and Reggie Jackson. So, and then just the numbers explode. And obviously one of the big things too was the players union, getting their money, getting protected, becoming the strongest, really, I think, union in the country. It used to be the Steelworkers, and I think Donald Fear, who, by the way, is a complete clown, and gave the speech to honor Miller posthumously. Miller should have been in 20, 25, 30 years ago. I mean, this is just absurd that it took this long to get him. And he's one of the 4 or 5 most influential people in baseball history. I mean, him and Babe Ruth and Branch Rickey and Jackie Robinson, and I'd throw some Negro Leaguers in there, Josh Gibson perhaps, and Hank Aaron, Mays, those kind of guys, right? George Steinbrenner, Jacob Rupert, those type of big names, 10, 15 biggest names in the game's history. For God's sakes, Marvin Miller is in there. And of course, the Players Union developed into an extremely strong group, which, by the way, in a way, it actually ended up being a bad thing, right? Because Donald Fear and company and Bud Selig, the strike happened in '94. The players and owners neither one would budge. I blame both sides, of course, because they just were spoiled brats. And then, of course, pedal forward when we get baseball back, and then you've got the home runs of '98 and, all these things coming on the scene. Ripken, I think, saved baseball a little bit with the consecutive game streak and all that, but it was the long ball. It was McGuire and Sosa added to it. It was Barry Bonds later on, and all of a sudden, because the union was so strong, going back to Marvin Miller, there was no drug testing, and so no blood test, no urine test, no this, no that. So guys were just pounding steroids into their bodies, man. They were taking creatine and andro, and they were doing all sorts of HGH and all sorts of steroids, and it was just absurd. And it got us to where we are now with questioning the steroid era, and guys aren't going to get in because of the steroid era, which is a joke, because baseball turned a blind eye. They won't honor it. They won't recognize it. They won't. It's just really the whole dark cloud bullshit topic. But Marvin Miller, man, I'll tell you, everybody in the game today collecting those monster checks, TV deals, and the like. They should be GMs, owners, players, and agents. They should be thanking Marvin Miller. Scott Boras, are you listening? Larry Walker's speech was awesome. He was super funny, called his brothers clowns in a fun way. Had just a bunch of great things to say about his career. And, I really like Larry Walker. He's just such a likable guy. His speech was amazing. Great career. 5-time All-Star, 3 Silver Sluggers, 1 an MVP, 3 batting titles, 7 Gold Gloves. I mean, this is kind of more like, to me, a Hall of Fame resume. He also hit .313 career. He had a 400 OBP, which is pretty darn good. OPS career was .965. And by the way, he played 17 years. He didn't play 22, 23, 25 years and compile. Larry Walker's a Hall of Famer. You can argue it all day long. He's a Hall of Famer. I know there are a lot of guys who have won MVPs, and somebody's, if Larry, come on, you're going against your argument. Larry Walker, if he's in, then Don Mattingly should be in because he won an MVP. No, it doesn't go like that. There are some players who have outstanding numbers in a shorter amount of time. There are players, like Mattingly played for 14 years, right? But with his back and some of the games that he missed in 94 and 95, and certainly he was, he missed, 60 games in 1990. He missed a bunch of games in 93. Don Mattingly has 9 Gold Gloves. He has 2 more than Larry Walker. He has an MVP. He has a batting title. He has also, 3 Silver Sluggers, right? But Larry Walker has 3 batting titles, and you look at 17 years, and you look at just a little bit more on, for example, he has 1,311 RBI. Mattingly only has 1,099, right? The batting average and the OBP are crazy great numbers. 2,160 hits, that's Larry Walker's hit total. Don Mattingly, he has 2,153, which is pretty good. So they're right kind of there, but I think, a few things stand out. Mattingly was a great fielder for sure. Walker was an awesome fielder. I mean, there was a while there that I think, Don Mattingly might have been the best first baseman in baseball, him and Keith Hernandez. But again, you look at a way lower OBP and OPS, and, I think Walker has just a little bit more. Now, look, Mattingly's close. Mattingly is, I think, 2 to 3 full years of production away from being a Hall of Famer and one other major accolade, right? Let's say he wins another MVP and he has 26 let's say he has, let's say he doesn't miss as many games during his career, and he plays another 2 unbelievable years that are closer to like 1988, not necessarily even the MVP year, but like 88, 89, hit 311, you get 100 RBI, you hit 23, 24 home runs, you collect, RBI, home run, hit RBI, 191, 2, 3, 4 hit seasons, right? You compile 2 more of those big years, and I think Mattingly might be in. But he missed a bunch of games, and I think if he had played in, 50 to 75 more regular season games, maybe even 100 through the years where he missed a bunch of times, games, a bunch of times, 95, 94, 1990. I think if he plays in, 50 to 75 to 100 games, I think if he plays in, more of those games, and then on top of that has 2 more really, really good, solid, productive years, 290 to 310 batting average, 100 RBI seasons, maybe 20 to 25, 30 home runs in each year, in 190 to 210 or 20 hits. I think if you take all those numbers, I think he's in. Because you think about 220, let's say 220, and another, 60 hits from games that he missed. That's 500 more hits. That puts him at 2,600. It looks a lot different. 2,653. His batting average, 307, lifetime was pretty darn good. Nothing wrong with that, right? But maybe the OBP goes up into that 390, 400 neighborhood, right? Home run-wise, Don Mattingly had 222. That's not that many. He actually could hit for power. But if he hits another, 200 home runs in his career, 422 looks at, those are kind of the numbers, right? Like if he puts up those, I think he gets in. But Larry Walker's well-deserving to get in. His speech was great. He had an unbelievable career, terrific all-around player, just fantastic stuff. And then Derek Jeter. Was there any doubt? Was there any doubt that Derek Jeter was going to absolutely, positively slam it out of the park with this thing? This guy has some kind of just flair for the moment. I don't know. There's very few guys who have it. Michael Jordan being one who was there. Even Michael, celebrating Kobe Bryant. How many people can do what he did? Every single thing. It's just, and Jeter, admitted, hey, I for 18 months I didn't really have anything ready, and kind of prepared it recently, and it was smart to do it that way, and it was amazing. His speech was absolutely fantastic, and I think when you think about Derek Jeter, flair for the dramatic, super clutch in the moment, flair for the moment. It's easy to just say the flip and the dive and this and that and 5 rings and 6 all-time in hits and Mr. November and all that stuff, all the big moments, the clutch moments, 5 for 5 on his 3,000 hit day, hitting a home run for his 3,000th hit off David Price. There's so many things Derek Jeter has done, but on top of that, it's the handling of New York, having the perfect baseball career, on and off the field, listening to his parents and the guidance, never getting in trouble, no front pages, no back pages, dated all the hottest women in the world. The resume of Derek Jeter's girlfriends is just untouched. And now his wife is arguably the best one of them all, right? Clearly for him, he thought so because it was a life partner. But Hannah Davis is, she was there as well, and she's spectacular, right? And just like all the other ones. It's just, but he was able to date beautiful women, and I think he made the right move with it because he stayed single all the way until he was done. Got married, had kids late. But remember, during his career, I think part of it was there's a lot of scum out there, and people are trying to take advantage of your celebrity. Well, guess what? Derek Jeter didn't date just your normal girl or your scumbag girl who's trying to get pregnant or eventually get your money and all that sort of thing, or go in the papers and say, while maybe the sex was consensual among both of you, she comes out and might lie and say, oh, you raped me, and all of a sudden the next thing you know, those things happen in sports. Everybody knows that. It's horrible. It's horrible. Sometimes it does happen, but many times it doesn't. There's fame and fortune, and people chase that, and it's a sick game. Derek Jeter dated supermodels and Miss Universe in Americas and Mariah freaking Carey and like Minka Kelly, Jessica Alba. These women have a ton of money. These women are models and rock stars in their own right. So I think that helped him. I think I think him dating high-profile, money-making models and success stories. Hannah Davis, cover Sports Illustrated. It does not get bigger than that for the swimsuit issue. And my goodness, what an issue that is. Like, it is absolutely, positively the right way to work it. And Jeter did it. And that's exactly, it goes in line with everything he's done, on and off the field, handling everything the right way. You know, the final game at Yankee Stadium, I was there, I was crying my eyes out. But he gave that speech, and it was so Jeter, again, in the moment, doing his thing. And, you know, the speech was remarkable as well. I mean, you know, he highlighted teammates. He apologized to trainers like Gene Monahan. Hey, sorry I lied to you, you know, saying I was good to go and healthy. And he tells you he played through a bunch of pain. A lot of guys do. It's a grind. Baseball's a grind. He highlighted his family. He said, you know, it all comes back to family for me. And it truly does. And, you know, his kids and Hannah were there, and his parents were there. And you know how big Derek Jeter is? I mean, I know he wore the Jordan brand and all that, right? Like, Michael Jordan and he became really, 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 really good friends. When you get inducted in the Baseball Hall of Fame and you're Derek Jeter, I understand you're already big. I understand you're a rock star. And then it gets even bigger because Michael Jordan is at your induction. It does not get bigger than Michael Jordan. Maybe Muhammad Ali, right? Like maybe Tiger Woods. I mean, maybe those are the only. I mean, you know, maybe a Tom Brady to a certain degree. Although I think Brady and Jeter have had similar careers. Although Jeter, you know, played his whole career in one uniform. Remarkable, just remarkable, and he just knocked it out of the park again with a speech. He did. You know what he did too is he just every single person he highlighted and thanked, and everything was perfect. It was on the nose. He highlighted them, he got out. He went to the next person, got out, and it was just a perfect time length as well. So congratulations to Ted Simmons, Larry Walker, Marvin Miller, posthumously, his family, and my man, my favorite player, Derek Sanderson Jeter, the amazing Derek Jeter, just handling everything the right way. And I just don't know if there's anybody who could come in and do what he did, you know, on and off the field, social media, the pressure, shortstop of the Yankees, wearing that uniform, cap, you know, New York City, all the media, front and back pages, all the nonsense, the explosion of social media, right, during his career. And he just, everything was, he was literally spot on, perfect to a T. I didn't even make one mistake. It's absolutely mind-boggling. And for the overrated crew, oh, well, if he did Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, he would have been, I'll tell you what, if he had been in Cincinnati, he would have been Barry Larkin. Guess where Barry Larkin is? He's in the Hall of Fame. He might have even been better than Barry Larkin in Cincy, but we don't know. Sure, Jeter had the resources. He had teammates and Hall of Famers and great players and an awesome manager at the right time in Joe Torre and a front office that had built this thing with Bob Watson and Gene Michael. And he had all that. I get that. Being in New York created more advertising opportunities, created a higher profile. It created a lot of different things, you know, to allow him to obviously benefit and prosper. And he highlighted that as well. But the reality is not many people could have done it like Derek Jeter. The ML Sports Platter is brought to you by Stanley Law Offices, Bryant and Stratton College of Syracuse, and our great friends at Welch & Company Jewelers. Coming up next, amazing conversations with Tino Martinez, Willie Randolph. Also, you'll hear from Peter Gammons, the longtime media man, great reporter, awesome writer, and was on ESPN for a number of years, and Barry Bloom, National Baseball Insider from Sportico. All of those conversations are coming up, but first, this. Tino Martinez, Yankee great here. New York State Baseball Hall of Fame was awesome. Congratulations again on that. What stands out today as you have the memories and all the Derek Jeter moments and the dynasty in New York, and everything you guys did is just remarkable, and every day I think it's even valued more because we haven't had a repeat champion since 2000, and your dynasty, by the way, was the greatest dynasty of my lifetime as a fan. What goes through your head today, like 2 years ago when Mo went in?
Today, what I think about mostly today is Derek's first year in the big leagues. You know, he wasn't supposed to make the team in spring training, and Tony Fernandez broke his arm, and they gave Derek a chance. And that first game, hits a home run, becomes Rookie of the Year, and then just to think about that day moving forward to ending right here in Cooperstown, that's what's going through my mind right now.
20 seconds left. What stands out the most for you when you think about Derek Jeter? Is it the daily grind, the commitment?
Yep, consistency. Totally consistent in his approach every day. He came to the ballpark with a great attitude every day. He's never tired, never made excuses, and was a great example for all the younger players behind him.
Tino, thank you. Appreciate it always.
Well, thank you.
We are here with Willie Randolph, the Yankee great, and I got to tell you, first of all, it's great to see you. I haven't seen you in Cooperstown since, I think, 2014. Right. We had Corona and all the bull crap, right, that went on. What's it feel like to be back, to just have baseball, the atmosphere, Jeter going in, Mo 2 years ago? Yes. What's it feel like?
I'm ecstatic. It's such an honor to be here always, and it's a special place. And then when you have people that you've touched in some way, whether it's Torrey or Gossage or Jeter, it just makes you proud. You know what I mean? So for me, it's a beautiful day, and I just proud that I had a little part in their success. And I'm just looking forward to the speeches because Ted Simmons, outstanding. I've loved him. Larry Walker, 5-tool guy when no one talked about 5-tool back in the day. He was excellent. And then the great Marvin Miller. So special day, and I'm happy to be here.
You're obviously a Yankee great. People love you. When you first put on the uniform, it's a two-part question. What did it feel like when you put the uniform on, the pinstripes for the first time? And also, when did you feel like you were officially accepted in the Bronx?
Interesting. Good question. Well, you feel like you don't believe it because I grew up in New York. I grew up a Met Yankee fan. So when you actually put the uniform on...
That changed quick, though.
Yeah. You look at yourself and you go, like, can I pinch myself now? Okay? And then when I felt like I arrived is when I felt like my teammates accepted me, like the Captain Thurman Munson, all those players embraced me. And it wasn't that long. I mean, I was a rookie, I was young, but they knew I was going to be there. So it didn't take too long for me to feel like a Yankee. But when Thurman Munson says, hey, you're one of us, that's when I was like, okay. So it was early on. But those guys took me under their wing. Chris Chambliss, Roy White, Guidry, all those cats took me under their wing. So it made it easy.
Is Thurman Munson a Hall of Famer?
No, not yet. He should be. I mean, he's always been debated about borderline, this and that.
But you think he should be here?
I personally think so. I mean, again, I just know what I know as a teammate and what he did because I was there. But the numbers, some people say he's a little shorter on the numbers. I just know that if he didn't die in that horrific plane crash, he would have been a Hall of Famer. But for me, yes. But there's always going to be a debate. Hopefully the Veterans Committee one day will vote him in, hopefully. And it'll be justice for him.
I see your Yogi Museum.
Oh.
I want to go there so bad.
You gotta check it
Montclair, New Jersey, right?
Yes.
What did Yogi mean to you?
Well, that's why I'm representing him today. Yogi, I love Yogi. He was my coach, my manager, my friend. We still do his golf tournament every year to raise money for the museum, Yogi Berra Museum. Yes. And it's a beautiful course in Montclair. But the bottom line is that, Yogi is a part of my upbringing. From when I was a kid back in 76, Yogi was there. He left and went away for a while. But when he came back in the 80s, managed, coach. Again, when I was managing the Mets, he would come see me. We'd still talk baseball, So he's like a dad to me. I love Yogi.
10 rings, 14 pennants, Purple Heart. The guy had 10 lives. 20 seconds left for you.
Yeah.
Finish this sentence. Derek Jeter is...
one of the truest sense of what a ball player should be, on and off the field. Because people always talk about what he does on the field, but through his foundation and things that he gives back on, that's what I look at Derek and see more than anything. Because he's very unassuming. He doesn't like a lot of credit, but when he's a total package. Reminds me of Winfield. Winfield in a way was like that. You have a responsibility to your friends, your family, your community. So for me, from day one, he came to work. I hit him thousands of ground balls. He never complained. He worked his ass off every day for me. So I'm surprised because you never think that a guy's going to be in the Hall of Fame. That's like something you think about.
Like early.
Yes. Right. But when you see him progress in the championships and the way he led as a captain, I'm not surprised. And again, I'm just happy to be here.
And by the way, Winfield was his hero.
Yes.
And you win in New York, Willie. There is. I mean, you're a Yankee.
That's
you win.
Right.
There is nothing like that.
That's right.
The great Willie Randolph. Thank you. Great to see you again.
Good talking to you. Take care. Enjoy.
One of the greatest media guys I've ever read. ESPN, all the columns, all the articles. Peter Gammons is here on the ML Sports Platter, brought to you by Stanley Law Offices. It's great to see you. You look fantastic. When you look at this class, what did Derek Jeter mean to you in baseball?
Well, I thought he was a huge part of a great era in Yankee history. I mean, growing up in the East Coast, I was always very interested in the Yankees. They were really good. I think the job that Gene Michael and Buck Showalter did to bring them out of a very dismal period. Remember that it's basically a left-handed ballpark and change, but still Derek was that even guy. It was never about Derek. It was only about the Yankees. And I think that was very important to that team. They never had a home run champion or a superstar per se, but they just went out and played every time. Joe Torre was the perfect manager for them. And but Derek sort of represented everything that it was never about him. It was never about him being entitled to anything. It was just about go out and play every day and do this field and hit exact same way every single day, and that team personified it.
20 seconds left. Just another thought on this class: Miller, Simmons, Walker, anything you have.
Well, just because I think they're players, Simmons and Walker, I think were ignored for a while. I have thought they were both clear Hall of Fame players. And Marvin Miller is one of the 3 to 5 most important people in baseball history. Believe me, the owners aren't making near the money they are today if it weren't for Marvin Miller.
No doubt. Are you feeling okay? How's health, everything? You look great. Peter Gammons, thank you a million. We've been all watching you. You set the standards for years. Thank you.
Okay.
ML Sports Splatter back with here, my man, Barry Bloom, one of the best in the business here in Cooperstown. When you look at this class, what is the main storyline?
Well, I think it takes you through baseball history, with what Marvin Miller did for the players to put them on the map and basically distribute some of the money. I mean, really, you could make an argument that Marvin Miller not only built the economy of baseball for the players, but he did it for the owners, too. They've done nothing but make money since free agency came to baseball, and the value of the franchises have gone up exponentially. And then you have the products of all these guys. Simmons, who played in the first era of free agency. God only knows why baseball writers didn't vote him 5% to keep him on the ballot for at least a longer look. I always thought that was terrible. That was my first year that I voted. I don't even remember whether I voted for him or not. It was the year Seaver got in and Raleigh Fingers, and that was my first Hall of Fame induction. And, of course, what can you say about, Jeter and Walker? I mean, Walker was a terrific player. Jeter is a hallmark. It's still his last game at Yankee Stadium is still one of my favorite games that I've ever covered of all time. But that single to drive in the winning run.
And I was at Fenway for the dribbler up first, which, he hustled to first. Hey, little leaguers everywhere for generations, right, Barry? They saw that play.
Right, I was there for that, too. It was a great last week. Yeah. So it's a great class. I'm sorry there's not more people here to see it.
Yeah, 20 seconds to go. When you look at Derek Jeter's career, when did you feel like he arrived officially?
1996. I mean, really, right away.
Cleveland.
No, and basically the Yankees went to the World Series and won the World Series. I mean, him and Mo. Yep. Mo was the backup guy to Wetland that year,
yes. And
Jeter was the starting shortstop. And Torre went with him, and, it just took off from there.
Barry Bloom, you're one of my favorites. You know that, my man.
Okay, thanks. You too.